CES, and depending on how jaded you are, it's either awesome, useful information or not much. But we'll let you guys figure. Ah, it's delicious. Okay. So first off, here's a PC Gamer article by Jared Walton. This is AMD Vega, everything you need to know about the next GPU architecture, because there is some more information, again, that AMD did come up with. For example, look, there's Raja with actually with one. Look at that, he's holding it in his hand. Anyway, Vega, at least the Vega chip that they're talking about, is likely to be a 4096 core GPU, clocked at around 1.5 to 1.6 gigahertz. The memory system is going to be HBM2 memory and will include 8 gigabytes and possibly 16 gigabytes of HBM2 memory in 2 stacks. So you can actually see the 2 stacks on the chip right here. And quite a few people have pointed out that since there's 2 stacks right there, there ain't no room for any more stacks. So, the question is it going to ship with 8 gigs or 16 gigs? 16 gig HBM2 memory is very expensive right now.
Yeah, let's do this.
So,
I'm not gonna do that.
it's not sure. Maybe it'll ship with 8 gigs, but maybe what else AMD is talking about has something to do with how they're explaining this, and how that's like, well, it's only 4 gigs, but it's really fast and has a lot of bandwidth, so it could outperform, you know, a competing 4 gig memory stack of like GDDR5 or something like that.
Right.
So bearing that in mind, yeah, 8 gigs would seem like not enough.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But they are now also sort of rebranding this, and this all was information that was sort of released during Computex. I'm sorry, during CES. So they're rebranding like the memory as high bandwidth cache, and they're trying to blur the lines between what the GPU has access to by default, like you would typically understand. Like, here's the GPU in the middle. Like, you know, you look like a GPU with GDDR5. You can see here's the GPU, here's all the memory stacks that it's connected to, and each of those adds up to how much memory. The actual memory might sit somewhere else. Like as in with those cards, they have, you know, like M.2 slots where you can add additional SSD storage that acts as memory or something like that. So they have high bandwidth cache. There's also a high bandwidth cache controller, and day is night, up is down, black is white, and everything like that. Left is yes, and no is Tuesday.
Maybe cheeseburger.
Anyway, there's additional technologies that they released some additional specs on, which I can't explain to you guys right now because it's really like the drawstream binning rasterizer.
Oh yeah, I know that.
I love when it has a simple explanation. Designed to improve performance and save power. Just like every upgrade to every processor ever.
You don't say.
Yeah. Anyway, so there are articles on this, and the PC Gamer one here is actually not terribly in-depth, but Jared does a good job, I think, of going through here and kind of giving you a good idea of what's what. So check that out if you want to. In the meantime, we're going to move on to the next one, which is from PC Perspective via videocards.com. So PC Perspective here is just sort of parroting over a videocards.com article where they have some leaked information about Vega 10 and Vega 20. So Vega information that AMD has shared is still fairly limited, even though they keep giving like little tidbits here and there. You know, there's still a lot of stuff that remains to be seen. So there's some slides that VideoCards seems to have gotten a hold of that they leaked on their website, and PC Perspective, of course, reported on them as well. So the slides suggest that Vega 10 is the first, which is the first GPU to be based on the new architecture, might be available by the end of the first half of 2017. Ooh. So, catch that? End of the first half of 2017.
Wow.
When would that be?
That would be like June.
That's June. So that's kind of cool. I think rumors we were hearing were pointing towards potentially later in the year. So that's maybe even a little bit earlier. That would, to me, that would mean Computex.
Yeah.
Because that would be when this type of thing would launch.
Right.
So that would be cool. A dual GPU Vega 10 product is also slated to release in Q3 or Q4 of 2017.
AMD's been keeping that up. The whole dual GPU thing. I haven't seen a dual GPU from Nvidia in a long ass time. Yeah, we had the R9 295X2 from Nvidia not too long ago. I'm sorry, from AMD not too long ago, and it would be pretty sweet to see dual Vega 10s on a single chip.
Yeah. So here's the slide in particular that they're talking about. Yeah, so dual GPU in the second half of this year, possibly. Refreshed GPU based on a smaller process node with more HBM2 memory called Vega 20 in the second half of 2018. And then the slides also suggest that Navi, which is Vega's successor, might launch as soon as 2019 and will come in two variants called Navi 10 and Navi 11, with Navi 11 being the smaller and less powerful GPU. I wish AMD would stop doing this. They keep flip-flopping between Vega 10 and Vega 11. One's a higher number, but it's bigger, and then or it's a smaller number, but it's still bigger with Polaris and Navi. Stop switching that. Stop it.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Confusing.
It's either golf or basketball.
Yes.
In terms of how the numbers operate.
Yeah, one way or the other. Anyway, Vega 10 is 14 nanometer. It allegedly offers up to 64 NCUs, which is next-gen compute units, is what they're calling that. It used to just be called compute units, and they're like, wait, no, that's not cool enough. Next-gen. Next-gen. It does sound newer, I guess. Excuse me. Anyway, up to 64 NCUs, though, and as much as 12 teraflops of single precision and 750 gigaflops of double precision compute performance. All stuff that we kind of started getting hints at when we started talking about the SenseMI stuff that they came out with last month. Anyway, Vega 10 supposedly has a TDP of up to 225 watts. And will be paired with 2 stacks of HBM2 memory, like we just said, on a package that will offer, again, either 16 gigs or 8 gigs with memory bandwidth of 512 gigabytes per second, which is pretty impressive. There's a Vega 10X2 also listed in the second half of the year, which is presumably a dual GPU product. Second half of 2018, the leak slide suggests the Vega 20 GPU will be released on a 7nm process node with 64 compute units and paired with 4 stacks of HBM2 for 16 gigabytes or 32 gigabytes of memory with 1 terabyte per second in. These are also pretty impressive specs and numbers and stuff there. Where is this presentation? I certainly wasn't involved.
Yeah.
That's cool though. That's all cool information. Of course, assuming it is true. You never know. Maybe somebody at VideoCards.com just made these slides themselves.
Pretty legit, pretty legit slides.
No, it's all fake. It's all fake. All right, so there's your Vega information, which is I think it's all pretty cool information. End of the first half for Vega. That's cool. Yeah.
End of first half.
Vega 10, I guess.
Right.
That was what it would be.
We'll see how it stacks up against the 1080.
The 1080 Ti?
Possibly the 1080 Ti. I think it's going to be in a different class. I think it's going to be closer to the 1080 than it is to the 1080 Ti.
Yeah, well, I mean, speculation right now
has
it theoretically beating the 1080, but yeah.
Yeah, by a small margin.
All right, let's talk about Ryzen. There was some more information about that. Ryzen is, of course, AMD's 8-core 16-thread CPU. Engineering samples are out and about, and we have seen some of these running at CES. There were independent boutique vendors that had them. There were a few. I was we saw one at Deep Cool, actually. That was a place where I was like, oh, there's an AMD motherboard. But it was one of the like really early engineering sample ones that was all like green PCB and stuff. But
Coil and horror, the first sight of it.
More on the CPU mounting stuff in just a moment. But first, some CPU information. We were told by AMD early on, or at least I guess late last year, that the new Ryzen CPUs, which are based on Summit Ridge. The Summit Ridge Ryzen CPUs will run at minimum at 3.4 gigahertz, and then they wouldn't tell us what the boost clock was. The folks at Hardware Lux managed to get some quality alone time with one of the demonstrations at CES 2017. They brought up the Windows System page and Device Manager And they confirmed that the Ryzen sample in use, even though it was an engineering sample, was set to 3.6 gigahertz base clock and a 3.9 gigahertz turbo boost. So faster than 3.4 gigahertz. And that would fall in line with what AMD has told us, in that the minimum spec for their 8-core Summit Ridge based parts is 8 core 16 thread and 3.4 gigahertz. So it seems like, yes, they do have them running faster, which is cool. Yeah. It's an F3 stepping processor. I don't know. There's a few other details in this article, but that's the main gist of it. So that's cool. I also saw something about core counts being confirmed, and I don't have an article on this specifically. Brad.
Hey, Brad.
There's Brad.
Sharkus.
There was also something about core counts being confirmed, but I think what was confirmed is that there will be a wide range of SKUs available when Ryzen launches, which again should be within the next 2 to 2.5 months, and that there will be the 8-core 16 thread, but there also might be potentially 6-core 12 thread and 4-core 8 thread up in there. I was wondering if there might be anything beyond 8 cores, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Here is an article from PC World by our friend Brad Sharkus. The 7 all-new details revealed at CES 2017 about Ryzen. He has a little video here. You could watch that. Or you could watch Kyle's video. Or my video, which hasn't gone out yet. It's probably going to be out tomorrow. Yeah, so first off, an army of Ryzen hardware. There's a ton of OEMs that, like boutique system builders, who AMD's already working with to build system based on that. So they had a big old list of them, a big wall, and included motherboard front, of course, as far as support. Asus, ASRock, MSI, Gigabyte, Battlestar. A lot of X370 chipsets, X300 motherboards as well. There's also A300 and B350. Different chipsets will determine whether or not you can overclock your processors. All of the Ryzen processors will be overclockable. They've also confirmed that the AM4 motherboards are going to have a very long lifespan. They relentlessly mocked the TikTok Intel thing, even though Intel's not doing TikTok anymore. They're doing TikTok and another thing. AMD CTO Mark Papermaster said, "We're not going TikTok. That's bullshit," he said. He didn't say that.
Quote unquote.
I'm reading between the lines. But he said Zen is going to be talk.
Oh, shots fired.
Nothing but talks.
Got him.
Up in here.
Burn. Sick
anyway,
burn.
AM4 is going to last until 2020, though. They're not going to be replacing this platform until basically PCIe Gen 4, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
PCIe Gen 4 and DDR5.
Which is going to be 2020?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's when they're anticipating that.
Damn, so Gen 3 is around for a while.
Indeed. Here's a summary.
Hardly saturated as it is, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, there are some slides about the chipsets, so if you guys aren't familiar with those yet, you might want to start at least taking a glance at them if you're considering upgrading to this platform, because the chipset is going to have a very significant impact on what you can do with the processor. Overclocking is only going to be enabled on the X370 and B350 chipsets, so those will be in motherboards that cost a bit more. Those also give you a little bit more I/O capabilities, as well as support for dual PCIe slots. If you want SLI or Crossfire support, for example, you're going to need to get an X370 chipset. And yes, AMD has been able to get SLI certification via NVIDIA on X370. So even if you don't like the Vega GPUs, if you really like Ryzen, you can still get a 10 series GPU from NVIDIA or something, mash them up together, have an unholy marriage. Like Romeo and Juliet or something. Anyway, X370 is the enthusiast. You're going to get USB 3.1 Gen 2. Actually up to 8 of those. 2 Gen 2 ones, 6 Gen 1s, and 6 2.0s. 4 SATA, 2 SATA E, which 3 SATA, which can be reconfigured for just the PCIe lanes, thank God. That's why they said you can reconfigure it. Pardon me, and just get access to the PCIe lanes.
That's all I want.
You do get SATA RAID 0, 1, and 10, so that's similar to what you're provided as far as support on the Intel side. Yeah, and then again, for overclocking X370 or B350 is where you want to go. A320, X300, and A or B300 are going to be more mainstream, so budget stuff where you're not going to be worrying about overclocking or that kind of thing. Probably also going to be a better matchup with the APUs that are going to be launching towards the end of the year. And then you also have small form factor options in X300 and A or B300. And my big question here is still standing out is when it comes to mini ITX support from AMD Ominous with this socket, are you going to be able to get a high-end X370 mini ITX board as good power delivery and overclocking? Or are you going to have to rely on these budget chipsets that have overclocking disabled and that kind of thing?
For an APU?
Even for a CPU. You can fit an APU or a CPU or whatever in there. It's all the same socket. In fact, all of the motherboards, that's the other funny thing, is all the motherboards that are being shown right now at CES and that kind of thing, all have video outs. But the Ryzen CPUs at launching don't have video out. Won't have video, won't have like an iGPU. So you won't even be able to use those video outs on these AM4 motherboards that are launching along with Ryzen until the APUs launch, which aren't supposed to be, I think, until the 4th quarter.
So I was a little slightly confused on what were you wondering about?
I'm wondering about mini ITX.
Okay.
Because I like small form factor builds.
Yeah.
And my question is, are you going to be able to build a full fat Ryzen mini ITX system with like the unlocked 8-core processor and decent enough power delivery on the motherboard to enable overclocking, or X300 and A or B300 chipsets as small form factor options?
It does say that the X300 chipset though is unlocked for overclocking.
It does? Yeah, it does.
There.
That's weird. Alright, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, you're not wrong, but that kind of just answers your question. Because if it's unlocked, then you can still overclock on small form factor AM4
Brad.
motherboards.
Brad's talking again.
Brad.
Okay.
Sharkus.
Because I was pretty sure they told me, but you're right, that says unlocked for overclocking. X300, alright, fine.
I don't see why they would omit that feature for just small form factor. I think.
Oh yeah, X300 enthusiast small form factor. All right, here you go. All right, see, this is why we double check these charts. It's why we have Kyle here to correct me when. All right, so yeah, it looks like X300 will also be unlocked for overclocking, so that's cool too. But no USB 3.1 Gen 2. Just pointing that out.
Fuck that shit.
It's lame.
Game over.
Anyway, alright, so there are lots of options, and there's been a teasing of motherboards so far, some that were shown at CES, but again, Brad!
Killing me, Smalls!
Alright. Anyway, let's finish off this list here. So, AM4 motherboards and longevity of them.